She's a massage therapist. She has a PhD in neurosensory rehabilitation. Since Flo began teaching cranial techniques in the mid-1990s, she has emerged as a pioneer in craniosomatic therapy. Is that an English word? As a result of her clinical experience and research, she developed a new manual therapy technique, facilitated pathways intervention, the topic of her doctoral dissertation. Flo now teaches this very effective therapy internationally in conjunction with other structural cranial techniques. She is also co-founder and director of education at Hancock Craniosomatic Institute, which presents continuing education events nationally and internationally. Flo's topic tonight is a somewhat uncommon life. A somewhat uncommon life. Flo Hancock.
Good evening. Each of us is unique. Some of the things about us are immediately evident. Others, not so much. What's not visible? What's generally covered up? My sister Anna and I were raised in Chicago. That windy city, it bred my love of colored autumn leaves, big back cold, wet snowflakes, the clatter of metal skates on sidewalks, and a lot of other things. It was a good childhood. We had summer vacations looking at the different landmarks across the United States and visiting Midwestern relatives. Pretty typical stuff. By the time I came to high school age, we had moved to a little town in North Florida. And that's where I finished my 4 years of high school. My most outstanding thing from those years was our high school band trip. I was playing the flute, and our high school marching band had been invited to march in the Washington, D.C. Cherry Blossom Festival Parade. That's a really big deal, and it was an incredible trip. I just loved it, and I still have the photo. Really an amazing event. Things at home are pretty typical family life, school, church, homework, boyfriends, usual stuff. One thing my dad came out with, one funny thing I remember from those high school years. He brought up the idea of visiting a nudist park. My mother was like, squashed that idea right away. And my sister and I were like, whew, so relieved. So relieved. College brought me to Tampa, to USF. And those were great years. The late 60s were the make love not war years. There was a lot going on. It was a heady and exciting time to be in college, and I really enjoyed it. A big step away from high school. And I met lots of new friends. I made friends in minority groups that I'd never interacted with before. And did lots of new things and went lots of new places. And my parents didn't exactly approve of all the stuff I did. But I still survived. I graduated college, and I started in teaching in my chosen career, which was special education. A few years later, I had a boyfriend. He was much older, but we got along great. He was caring and compassionate, and things went well. And a couple of years later, we became part of another minority group called Unwed Parents. But we really welcomed our new daughter with joy, and we joined a club that had a lot of outdoor activities, and we moved to Lutz. And in Lutz, we built a geodesic dome, our own home with our own hands, and it was 20 feet tall and fairly impressive, and that's an accomplishment in which I still take pride. Things went along. We had a second daughter. I continued teaching, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 years went by, and I realized I was enabling alcoholic behavior. And I was really not okay with that. So I moved out, with the girls and became a single parent. And a few years later, with both the girls in elementary school, I had an opportunity to build a new house in one of Pasco County's new communities, and I built another dome. Only this time I had a contractor helping me with it, and this was a little bit bigger. So things went along well. I had a new partner about a year later. We were active in our gated community. There were lots of things to do. There were 4th of July picnics. There were Easter events. There were things to do all the time. Ski shows on the lake. A good time. For the most part, our life was quite typical. My daughters were both artistic, so we went to art shows pretty often. And my partner got interested in creating art. So a couple of years later, we opened a framing and art gallery. And I learned how to make frames. And I discovered that I really loved the creativity of putting together custom frames. And the business venture was great. We did okay with it, and I really liked it. It was quite a step away from the special education work I had been doing up until then. Well, we made it on through, the girls made it through school, but from high school, the stress of raising teenagers proved a little too much. My partner moved out before the youngest one went to college. But the girls both were off to college in Georgia, and I was now a single empty nest mom, but that didn't last too long. I had been hanging out with coworkers sometimes after work, and one evening, I ran into a former neighbor. Nice. We went on a few dates, and then it was several a week, and 4 months later, we were an established couple. We did stuff together. We worked on our master's degrees together. I left special education behind and went in with my partner in the healthcare field, chiropractic, and I became a massage therapist. So that was good, but it wasn't like enough to have done our master's degree, so we decided we'd tackle PhDs. Being just a little crazy. Eventually, we did marry, and eventually we also finished the PhD studies, and we have continued to teach and help people improve their lives through the work that we do. Today, we still enjoy working and teaching together. We live happily in our little corner of paradise in the dome I designed over 30 years ago. Living in a dome makes me kind of part of a small minority. Being a cranial therapist puts me in another kind of small minority. So does my lifestyle. I haven't come out to such a large group before, but here I am, breaking the ice, hoping you'll accept me as a friend. What is not visible, generally covered up. This communique, like some others, should probably be stamped confidential. I'm a bona fide, card-carrying, living the lifestyle nudist.